Good morning, lovelies. A few weeks ago, I posted a video about the worst female character tropes in science fiction and fantasy, and I'll link it in the corner if you haven't seen it already. Today, we are going to talk about, in my less than humble opinion, the best female character tropes. Again, this is focusing on cisgender female characters because trans and non-binary characters have their own tropes and thus deserve their own video. Before we get started, remember to click that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss another video. I post every Sunday. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. All the links are in the description. My birthday giveaway is still going on. 5 subscribers will receive a signed copy of my illustrated sci-fi novella Homestead Hunts, so subscribe to this channel for a chance to win. These tropes are my own personal favorites. That is purely subjective. They're in a lot of my favorite stories and in the stories that I write. So if you know any books, movies, or shows that feature any of these tropes, please put them in the comments so that I can check them out. Thank you. Number 1, the warrior, aka the woman who is actually a badass. Often, writers will have characters talk about how awesome a femme character is, what a great fighter they are, how scared they are of her, only for her to ultimately flop in battle, usually needing to be rescued by a guy. So it is really refreshing to have a femme character actually be a badass in battle. With actual armor too, not that chainmail bikini crap. Sometimes you just need to see a bitch slice a man in half. Bonus points if that man is a misogynist, or the Witch King of Angmar. This is not to be confused with the strong female character that I mentioned in the worst tropes video. The SFC in its modern form is designed to be sexy and desirable while fighting. She doesn't have a personality, is super two-dimensional, and primarily exists to be a love interest for the guy. The warrior is a fully fleshed out, three-dimensional woman character who is also good at physical combat. Think Brienne of Tarth and Arya Stark from Game of Thrones, Samira from the Magnus Chase trilogy, or Nakia and Okoye from Black Panther. Number 2, the leader. Women are taught to take a step back and let the men lead, both in real life and in fiction, regardless of how qualified the man actually is. The femme leader says, "Screw that, I'm the one with the plan, sit down, son." It's even better if the men in her command don't constantly try to undermine her, to tell her that she can't or shouldn't lead just because she's a woman. Obviously, not everyone is going to be thrilled with her leadership, but the problem they have should be with her leadership style and decisions, not her gender. She-Ra and the Princesses of Power did this very well, as did Heroes of Olympus by Rick Riordan. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood has a femme general, and The Last Jedi, everyone's most hated purple-haired general woman. I thought she was totally in her right to not trust the guy whose plan was going to get them all blown up. Number 3, the competent damsel. I did a video on damsels in distress, which is not in and of itself a bad trope. It's just so often done poorly. One of the best ways to do it right is to have a competent damsel. Damsels are characters who, through circumstance, are now stuck in a situation that they just cannot immediately get out of, or they can't get out of it without help. Due to the fact that this usually involves some sort of dramatic rescue, and the fact that they need to be overpowered by the villain to begin with, the damsel is almost always a woman. Although sometimes a man will be damseled and a woman gets to come in and rescue him, which is always really fun to do. Competent damsels will end up in those same situations, not because they're an idiot or because they made a mistake or whatever, but because they're just happen to be outmatched in that moment. But they'll either get themselves out of it or at least meet their rescuers halfway. They'll pick the locks or seduce their captors or knock out a couple of guards while the rescuers are incoming. Basically, she doesn't just sit in the corner and cry while Prince Charming shows up to save the day or prove to be totally incapable of even basic survival. She gets to work. Number 4, the mama bear. I don't ever want to be a parent. Parenting is on par with brain surgery and lawmaking. They are all necessary for society, and I have no interest in doing any of it. But I respect the hell out of the people who do. The mama bear archetype often has children of her own, but she also adopts pretty much all the other characters, including the main character. It's just so sweet to see someone in the story take a look at our abused, traumatized, emotionally stunted main character and decide, yep, this human is mine now, you can't have them. But that's just the mother archetype. The mama bear combines mother with badass, because when her kids, biological or otherwise, are threatened, she will tear apart the bad guy limb from limb, and it is glorious. Molly Weasley's "Not my daughter, you bitch" is one of the greatest moments of the Harry Potter franchise. Don't even try to change my mind. Number 5, the anti-hero / morally gray femme character. So often, women in fiction live in extremes. They are either totally 100% the good guys, the too pure for this world variety, or totally 100% evil. And this goes back centuries in Western literature. They'll have some character flaws, but they're rarely morally gray. So when it does happen, I love it, because women in real life are just as complex and amoral as men. Part of the reason we get so few morally gray women is because we're taught not to forgive women as easily as we forgive men. Think boys will be boys versus she needs to grow up. Writers think that if they want their femme character to do anything that might be considered bad, this is going to signal that she's about to turn full-on villain. And redemption arcs are usually reserved for men, not women. So an easy way to get your work to stand out is to give your morally gray or even villainous femme character a redemption arc. Number 6, the bookworm. I like this trope because I am this trope. This is the femme character who always has her nose in a book, who knows everything about everything, who all the other characters go to for help when they need information. Sometimes she doubles as the leader, like Annabeth Chase in the Heroes of Olympus series. Other times she'll just be an invaluable ally, like Hermione Granger. She probably also wears glasses, unless she starts a YouTube channel, at which point she will switch to contacts because they don't catch the glare from her computer screen. The bookworm teaches girls and women that their greatest asset doesn't have to be their looks or sex, but their brains, which they can always improve on. She might not be the best in a straight-up fight, but that's what the warrior is for. Number 7, girl gangs. This is when you get multiple femme characters in the same book working together for a common goal, which means you get multiple awesome tropes in the same story. You've got a femme leader, a badass warrior woman, a bookworm doing all the research, maybe a mama bear looking out for them. It basically includes everything I love in the same story and makes it even better. You get to see different versions of feminine strength at play. Some women use sex or beauty to spy on or deceive their adversaries. Some women hit the books for hours at a time to come up with the perfect strategy. Some women just say screw it and punch the problem until it goes away. Put those women on the same team and they are unstoppable. Girl gangs also pass the Bokdel test almost automatically. If you're unfamiliar, the Bokdel test is a basic method of gauging the diversity of women in a story. To pass, a story must have at least 2 women characters who talk to each other about something other than a guy. You'd think that with the bar so low, most stories would pass. And yet, it's not perfect, I'll be the first to admit it. I tend to prefer the Makomori or sexy lamp test, since they tell whether or not the women actually contribute to the story in a meaningful way, rather than having 2 minor characters talk about cereal for 10 seconds before moving on to how annoying their boyfriends are. But still, girl gangs, one of my favorite tropes. A really great example of this is the Throne of Glass series, where there are multiple girl gangs and multiple femme characters, all of them strong and different in their own way. It's really cool. Number 8, older women. Women don't just cease to exist after they turn 30. They keep going, but most stories cut them off when they're still young and pretty. I'll admit, I am guilty of this in my own writing. It's more to the fact that I have no idea what it's like to be old. I'm 25, so I can more easily relate to characters my own age. Someday, when I am 70, drinking wine on a beach in a thong bikini, it'll be different. But for now, I have to actively work on it. Older women in fiction usually automatically fall into some sort of mother archetype, and then more often than not die. I like it when they're actually badasses. Either they're a mama bear or a warrior like the older women in the Mad Max Fury Road movie, or they're a quieter type of badass. Think Mrs. Hudson from BBC's Sherlock. If you haven't seen it, Mrs. Hudson is this little old landlady in the apartment that Sherlock and John Watson live in. And there's this one episode where she gets captured, damseled, and even beaten up by CIA agents who are looking for a cell phone that belongs to another character, and Hudson just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Sherlock comes in and saves her. It's absolutely fantastic. And then she's safe and the CIA agents are gone and John Watson is fretting over her and worried about her. And Sherlock is just like, so you have the phone? And she literally pulls the cell phone out of her shirt and gives it to him. She had it the whole time these CIA agents are interrogating her. It was amazing. Number 9, single women. Not every single woman wants a romantic relationship. It breaks my aro ace heart to see every single femme character in a story shipped off with another character. Some women do want a romantic relationship and actively search for one. Some women aren't actively searching but end up falling in love anyway and they just kind of go with it. And some women are perfectly happy to stay single for whatever reason. We're not miserable if we don't have a boyfriend. Happiness comes from more than a relationship. Our lives don't revolve around your dick. Seeing a femme character be completely uninvolved in any romantic subplot, or ultimately just decide, you know what, I'm not ready for this, have a good life, sir. That is my catnip. And number 10, the sarcastic gal. I love comic relief characters. Part of it is likely because sarcasm is my mother tongue, but most of it is just because I love to laugh. The comic relief is usually my favorite character in any given story, but 9 out of 10 times they're a guy. Where are my funny girls at? Girls tell jokes, girls are funny, girls cope with the crushing weight of the world trying to destroy them with humor. Give me more comic relief femme characters, please. Those are my top 10 favorite female character tropes. List yours in the comments, as well as the books, movies, and shows that they appear in so we can all check them out. If you liked this video, hit subscribe. Remember, 5 subscribers will receive signed copies of my illustrated novella Homestead Hunts, which does include a few of the tropes that I mentioned in this video. If you want early access to these videos and more content, check me out on Patreon. The link, as well as all my social media, are in the description. Bye, lovelies!